It is about you. You are the selling point, and the landscape is changing. So be your authentic self because no one wants to go to work being miserable all day. Look at your own resume, look at your own LinkedIn, and look at your impact and what you have provided for that other company. And if you write things in that context, you're going to talk to the next employer.
In my opinion, it's about giving the customer what they really want and just blowing their mind once they get it. And that's what I really love to see, honestly.
Get people to do more of home cooking, home cooked meals, healthy meals, so we can all live long and happy.
I'm very proud to be a mom because not for nothing, women are amazing.
Oh my God, the sacrifice, and how we make it look so easy.
I was just telling Joanne before we got on the call, I said, I had to run from my daughter's school. They had an Easter egg hunt. I said, all right, Mom, I gotta go to work. But, you know, just as moms, we make it happen, you know, supernatural abilities. We are the example for them, you know, and I know that with them being a better version of us.
You have to try. You never know how creative you are until you try. Because I didn't think I was creative. I found my creative side during a horrible time in my life.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year's. It is 2025. This is our second session for the new year. We are extremely excited and grateful that we are on the other side. There has been so much loss. I've been getting a slew of emails from people who have been passing away, who are near and dear to the communities that we serve. And so I just to those families and to all those who are watching who might be experiencing some loss this year, I want to share my condolences from our family here at the Juneteenth team to yours. So today we have a amazing speaker with us. And yes, I changed my background because everybody was getting on me. Everybody was like, oh, Christmas is over. And I was like, but not for me. Christmas is still in my heart. I want to be able to do 1 year where I am just celebrating Christmas for the entire year. So I'm just taking off the bulbs and putting on different holiday themes. So like Black History Month, gonna have a bunch of Black people on the tree, and Valentine's Day, like all of that kind of stuff. My husband doesn't want me to be great though, so I'm just gonna throw that out there. I'm still a little sick, so please forgive me. But we have a great presentation on today that we are going to go through. So I am thrilled to introduce Leslie, and I'm going to totally butcher your last name because I did not ask. So Devereaux. I hope I said that correctly. Devereaux. Okay, when you come on, you'll tell me. So Leslie D, that's my girl, Leslie D. She is a seasoned legal professional, ordained minister, and passionate advocate for legacy building and community empowerment. And I actually met her. So funny, I'm here in Atlanta, and I went to a workshop, and I totally didn't even plan this, but I woke up this morning and I put on this sweater, which says, let me see if I can stand up. Don't sell your grandma's house, right? So it was a whole idea that was created where you were helping a Black woman who owned homes to be able to put their homes to make sure that they had wills and they had all the legal estate planning and stuff for their properties. Because what is happening in our communities is that people are now children, right? We did all this work, we worked hard, and then our kids get the properties, and then guess what? They sell it. Because they're like, oh, you know, it is dilapidated. It wasn't being maintained properly, or they could get more money. They can buy. They want to move. So many different things. So many reasons for why our children are selling it. So I'm really excited to be able to have this conversation. She has years of experience as a church attorney, which is interesting because you don't really hear about that, where it is definitely, I can understand, very much needed. Senior pastor and expert in wills, trust, and estate law. Leslie has helped countless individuals and families navigate legal matters, ensuring they can build and preserve their legacies. She now specializes in estate planning, guiding New York residents to secure their financial futures through strategic legal and financial decisions. And trust me, I know that with all that's going on right now in New York, with these prices being rise, these, oh my gosh, people are like exiting really fast, like even faster than before. So this is very timely in conversation. So the topic today is future proof your legacy. We're going to talk about the importance of estate planning and securing generational wealth, trust, how to build your trust and avoid conflict when family members are faced with difficult decisions, which I've definitely been in when we've had a loss, and practical steps to protect your legacy and preserve family unity through strategic planning. So let's welcome to the stage my sister, Leslie D.
I like that. I like that, Leslie D. So it's Leslie Devereaux.
Devereaux. Okay.
Look,
I definitely never got that.
Not get hurt because it's my husband's name. God bless him, right? And I love the name, and a lot of times people pronounce it wrong, but it's all good.
No, I'm a stickler for name, and I totally should have asked you before I even went. Before
it's
you
all love. I'm telling you, it's all love.
But I love the ring of the Leslie D too. Like,
yeah, I like that Leslie D too. I think I just might start using that. I don't know.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us on today. You're wearing my color red, so the energy is vibing.
Yeah.
Talk to us. We are excited to have you on. Like I shared a little bit of background, but it was great to be able to connect with you, and I'm glad to be partnering with you.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, when you reached out to me, it was just I don't know how sometimes you just feel that connection immediate. And it was over the lines, right? We weren't in person, but just a conversation. I just felt so much energy behind what you were saying as it related to Juneteenth.
Yeah.
And I'll talk a little bit about that later, how I feel about it. It's really special to my heart. But just how you took something that you started out very small, and then it morphed into something that it's big and meaningful. And I watched some of your interviews on the news, and it's just amazing. And so when you reached out to me about the topic of unity, bridging the bridge family unity, I was like, wow. I mean, what I try to do with what I'm doing is make sure that family unity is maintained.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. So I want to. So I am an estate planning attorney, but I like to get the elephant out of the room. I am not talking about dying. I'm talking about planning. A lot of times people, they don't want to hear, or they don't understand estate planning, so they think it's for rich people. That's a misnomer. And the other thing is that when you're talking about wills and trusts, they think, oh, you're trying to put me in the grave now. And so that's not true, right? It's really about just planning, right? And being prepared.
Yeah.
Right? For life, I always say being prepared for life and being prepared for loss. So that's where it is.
I love that. I love that. So I'm going to get out of your way because I know you have a whole lot prepared for us, and I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So welcome, everyone. I'm just excited to be here. Like I said, it's just an honor to be able to be in this space, in this platform, especially as it connects to Juneteenth, right? And we all know what that means. I don't have to tell you the importance of Juneteenth for us as African Americans. But it just seems as if the topic of unity and family unity, which is basically goes right in line with estate planning, is something that I do. So we'll get into it. I like to lighten the room a little, like I said, because we're not talking about dying. We're talking about planning, right? And so, but there are things that happen when people pass. There are things that happen when people become incapacitated and they cannot take care of themselves that can cause a strain, right? And we said unity, which is being united, right? Being joined together as a whole. But oftentimes, when there's a sickness, an illness, or a death, that whole family unit can be fractured because people have not taken the opportunity to plan or to talk to one another. So here's my little funny thing I start with. Raina's going to help me with it. Just a real 30-second little thing about a funeral.
It off.
Nope, wrong
No,
one.
you
Raina,
have to
wrong
leave
one.
it here.
Oh, no, that's right one.
Your mother left it to the church.
But Mama said she left it to me. She said I could have it.
I think that is so funny. So anyway, so that was a situation, right? I'm in the law, I'm in my office, and then that TikTok, you can just be who you are, right? So I jumped into the chair with the fur coat on, and that happens. People start fighting over people's stuff, right? They may not even be in the grave, and they start fighting over people's stuff. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how you can protect your things. But I do want to give you a little background. So I am an ordained minister. So I consider this ministry as well. This is my secular profession, but I do consider estate planning and helping people prepare a ministry because hopefully I'm educating people on what is necessary when you're not able to take care of your business, or if someone in your family passes, how you can prepare and how you can keep your generational wealth, how you can keep things in your family if you're able to do that. And so we're going to begin. I've been doing this over 30 years, a long time. And, but I've had different areas of practice, but I decided when I came back into practice that I wanted to do something that was heartfelt, right? That was ministry, right? It wasn't totally all about finding money. It was about really trying to help, and not just anybody, but help my community. And so we begin with a PowerPoint. And so my PowerPoint is about future proofing your legacy, right? It's your future and your legacy. I just sent a text to my daughter-in-law about my mom who passed in March, and she said she left a great legacy, and she did. And so, which is us. And so we want to make sure that the legacy is in place for everybody, for all of us, for your family, right? People that you might know. It's really important. Next slide. Yeah, so that's me. We already talked about who I am. We said my name, Leslie Devereaux, next. And I'm in New York on 43rd Street, but I do what's called a virtual practice. And so what you all should know that with COVID, everything just changed, right? So you didn't have to come into your office, but you still had to maintain business. And so the rules were relaxed, which allowed attorneys to have a virtual office. And so that is what I have. And I have a virtual practice. And so it's very convenient. People love it because they can, from the comfort of their home, interview. I can meet with them. I can have consultations with them, and we can talk about their situations in private. And then I can handle whatever business they want me to handle, and I can do it all online. And if there's an occasion that we have to meet in person, and I'm open to that, and that happens as well. Next. And just, I'm online. I have a website, leslielaw.com, and I have, reviews. And so far I haven't had any complaints. I'll put it that way. Next. So, question for you, and I don't know who's here. I don't know if anybody's here, but if you're in the chat, what percentage of African Americans do not have wills or trusts? You don't know that. That is actually very smart, but makes sense why so many real estate spaces. Yeah. So how many? of us don't? Just take a guess. All right, here's the answer. This is about African Americans that don't have wills or estate. Next, 77%. Huge number. Huge number. 77. So you thought 30%, Athena. Okay. Yeah. 77% do not have it. 30% would be pretty good, but 77% of people, and probably because they don't know, or because they don't have time, they procrastinated, or because they don't think it's important. Next. So I want to share with you my thoughts about it, and we're going to talk about it next 45 minutes. And hopefully by the time that we're finished with this conversation and this presentation, you just will be more enlightened about the importance of having an estate plan. Next. So it's almost like we're doing a consultation, you and I, whoever's here, right? And we're going to talk about what a will is. Most people have heard about wills. Most people have heard about wills, but they don't really understand trust. So, I'll talk about that. And then you'll have a little gift if you stay on, and then we'll have a question, Q&A, if there's anybody that has any questions, as long as they're not personal to your own personal situation, because we try to make sure that we keep everybody's situation personal to them. Next. So what is it, right? What's an estate plan? It's a big word, usually related to people. When people hear it, they don't understand it, and they think, okay, maybe this has to do with having a whole lot of money, right? Next. So part of a estate plan includes, and I call them the big five, having a power of attorney, a durable one, a medical power of attorney, a living will, a last will and testament, and a revocable trust. So a durable power of attorney allows you to assign your someone the power to take care of all of your business in case you become incapacitated and you can't handle your business on your own. Medical power of attorney is one that basically, if you become so ill that you need someone to speak to doctors and make medical decisions for you. And then a living will is sort of, if you're in the hospital and things aren't going too well, you give somebody the authority to say how end of life would happen. And then, of course, we have our last will and our testament and revocable trust, which we'll talk about in depth in this presentation. Next. And so you are here and you're in the right place. If you you need one, but you're not sure, you don't know where to start. Like, what do I do? Because I said it's estate plan. It's like a big thing, right? Or you're curious, right? But you don't know, does it take a long time? What am I supposed to do, right? Or you wonder if you could just use Susie Orman and do it online. No, you can't. Okay, just want to say that. All right, next. And so my gift to you, I have an ebook, and especially if there are women on this talk, and it's called "Take Control of Your Legacy," and it's a woman's guide to estate planning. So hopefully you will take advantage of it, and if you stay at the end, you'll be able to get a copy. Okay, next. And then my next question: how many of you do have a will or a trust? How many people have a will or a trust? Okay. No takers, huh? Next. So there, like I said, some objections. People, they feel like I don't really need one, especially if I'm married, because my spouse is going to handle all of that. So it really doesn't matter because they'll take care of everything. Or some people, really feel like they're too young. This is not a hot topic. It's not a hot topic, especially for younger people. It is a hot topic for people who have lived a little bit and they know it's time to start taking care of the business. But for young people, sometimes it's just not a hot topic because I think it's so closely related to the thought of demise when it should be related to the thought of planning and generational wealth and how we build it and start now. And then people think they don't have enough money, but like I said, that's a misnomer. And we'll talk about that a little later. Next. So, next question. What's the risk to your family? To your family if you don't have a plan? And that really is something for you to think about, right? If you don't have things written down, right? And you have children, if you have a piece of property, a house, you have a car, you have any kind of asset, which we'll talk about what assets are. What is the risk to your family if you didn't put it in writing? I always say if it's not in writing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't count because people don't know what your intentions were. Next. So the goals, when you think about estate planning, right, is you really want to be in control. It's really about control. You want to be in control. You have what you have. You want to be able to give it to who you want, and you want to do it when you want. Control over your stuff, right? Not it's your stuff. So you also want to be able to, if you, like I said, I talk about life and loss. So while you're living, things could happen unexpectedly, right? And so if you have health issues or financial issues or you become incapacitated, right? Having things written down helps prevent a whole lot of discord among family members. And remember, the nucleus of this whole conversation is really about unifying and keeping the family together, right? And so, having something written down also, and when you have an estate plan, if you have children, you can say what happens, what you want to happen with your children. And if you have charitable intentions, you may want to leave something for Juneteenth, right? For this great organization. You're able to write that down because a lot of times people are not thinking what you're thinking about your stuff. They have a whole different idea, a whole different concept of how they want your stuff when you're no longer here or when you can't take care of yourself, how they think your stuff should be distributed. But you should be the one in control of that, right? And then you want to pass those ideas on to your children, especially if you're trying to build generational wealth. And you want to avoid or protect your assets. Say if you were divorced, if you have creditors, you have bankruptcy, all those things. And there's so many different scenarios with that going on right now in families. And having a plan in place is something that can, if you have the right plan in place, that can help you avoid some of those things that happen. And then you want to avoid probate, which we'll talk about that a little later. I'll explain what that means. Next. So I said, do you have a will? I didn't get really a response, but you may think you don't, but you do. You have a will. I'm talking about New York now. And the thing is, New York wrote the will for you. If you didn't write it yourself, the courts will decide, right? And so estate planning is when you want to opt out of that default plan, meaning that the state gets to decide what happens to your assets. Next. So when you are no longer here, it means that you are die intestate. That means you don't have a will. And that means you've decided to do nothing but let the state handle your business. Next. And so the downside, of course, I just said, right, is that everything is distributed according to how the state of New York says it. So it may your things, and and we'll talk about what things are, may go to people you don't want them to go to. Or if you're parents and you have children and they're minors, right? And then, or they're 18. Let's say they're 18, they're not minors, right? And they get a lump sum of your life insurance policy and they're not ready. They're not ready. And then everything that you thought you were putting away for them is gone. Or if you're married, your spouse can remarry, and everything that you had that you were leaving to your kids in that nuclear relationship could potentially end up with somebody else if you don't have it in writing. And then what's real important for young mothers and young families is that if you don't decide who you want to raise your children, especially if you're a single parent, then the courts are going to decide who raises your children. The judge is going to decide who raises your children, right? Next question. How many have children under 18? And so if you don't respond, we'll just keep going because I know this is going to be taped, but it is important. It's an important consideration if you have children that are under 18 years of age. Next. So what about them, right? Who's going to take care of your children? See, 3 and under 18. You have 3 children under 18. So the thought is, who's going to take care of your children if something happens? Who will take care of your children, right? You name the legal guardians. You can name people to be guardians of your children in your will, right? But if you pass without one, guess who's going to decide? The judge. Now, you could be married. And so, of course, your hope is that, your husband is going to be there for the children. But just in case you're not, or just in case the parent is out of the picture, then the court will decide, and it's called a guardianship proceeding, and it can be very expensive, long. Very long. Next. Very complicated, very rigorous, very lengthy, and it can be very expensive. And so if you write it down, right, you can avoid that situation. Yeah. Next. So I stay on it a little bit because there are a lot of single mothers, right? Or just even couples, right? God forbid something happened to 2 people, right? And so you have a child or children, and then there's custody battles between the grandparents of all people. And you might like one set of grandparents, and you may not like the other set of grandparents so much, right? And they're battling over who is going to raise your children because you didn't write it down, but with what your wish is. And even if you have a conversation with family members and you say, this is what I want, trust me when I tell you, when people are out of the picture, sometimes money changes things, material assets change things, children change people's attitudes, and people just start thinking and acting differently. Next. So the solution is you're going to put your guardian, your children in a will, right, in case something happens, right? And in a document outside the will in the event you become incapacitated. So you don't have to be gone. Remember, I told you this is about planning, not about dying. You don't have to be gone. You could become incapacitated. And so you want somewhere to say who is going to take care of your children if you can't do it for a minute, right? You don't want the court to have to decide that. I have a situation right now with a woman and her daughter, young, in her 30s. She got sick and she went into the hospital, and now she's on a tube, right? So she's still alive, but she can't do anything. And so her mom reached out to me to see if she could just go to the bank and handle her daughter's bills. No, she cannot. No, she literally has to go to court and apply to be the guardian over her adult daughter because there was nothing in writing. And look, none. Sometimes you don't even think that that's going to happen to somebody in their 30s or in their 20s we don't, right? But unfortunately, sometimes life happens and it's unexpected, and so you want it to be you want to just be prepared. And then, so with this whole guardian issue, you get to name a trustee. So if you leave money for your children, you get to name someone to manage your children's inheritance or their money until they become of a certain age. And it could be in any age that you pick. It does not have to be 18. It could be 30. It could be after they decide they get a college degree. It could be, when they get married, whatever you want to do. That's the beauty of being able to write things down. Next. So what about the money? Next. The money. What comes to mind when you think of assets? Take a minute. Think about assets. So you see this very beautiful picture behind me? That's an asset. That's my picture. I love that picture. So who am I leaving it to? I don't know. No, I know. But you see what I mean? That's considered an asset. It's mine. Next. So your assets can be your bank accounts, your checking accounts, cars, if you have 401ks, your life insurance proceeds, all of that, houses, any real estate you have a 401k, you have an IRA, jewelry, look, jewelry. Right. Thank you. You like that picture, huh? Artwork, intellectual property, your business. So hopefully, even if you're not on now, there will be people who are in business, because I've seen a lot of your footage on this Juneteenth footage, and it seems like there are a lot of entrepreneurs who get on and they speak about entrepreneurship and trying to make sure that people know what that's all about. So they are entrepreneurs. Do they have a succession plan? So what's going to happen to your business? What's going to happen to my business when I'm no longer here? Or if I can't take care of my business, do I have it set up so that people know how to handle my operations when I'm not here? Same with all the entrepreneurs that come on this Juneteenth platform. Next. And so the title equals results. Next. So there are 3 ways you can hold it, right? 3 ways. Next. So it can be held individually. So that means you have your own bank account, right? Your own bank account at your bank. Jointly, you have a joint bank account with your husband, with your child, or by contract. And that's usually life insurance policies that are payable out to your spouse and your children. Next. And then the importance is your will or your trust. They're going to say how your individual assets are held and how they're distributed when you're no longer here or when you become incapacitated. Remember, I tell you, also during life, things can happen. Okay, next. So you have options, and that's the beauty of this. You have options, and your options are, next, you can either do a will or you can do a revocable living trust. Either one, you have an option. And so the will is better than doing nothing. Because remember early on, I said, if you're no longer here and you leave here without anything, you're gone intestate. And so the state of New York will be the one handling all your business. I don't know if we want all those people in the state of New York handling our business. We love New York, but right? That's something to think about, right? You can name your guardians in your last will. You can name beneficiaries for assets that you have individually, your bank accounts, all of that stuff, right? And you can name an executor, somebody that you trust, trust and love to handle all your business for you. That you can do in a will. And sometimes that's just enough. That's sufficient for people. Next. And but sometimes wills fail. And especially when I just said to you earlier, if you have children, right? First of all, will doesn't provide for incapacity. So if you can't take care of your business, the will doesn't help you. You're going to need some other documents, right? If you have a will in New York and then you move to South Carolina, that might be an issue. If you have a will and you said you leave everything to your children, right? At 18, they get the money and then they lose their minds. And sometimes even if they're adults, true story, young man, and his mom left him about $250,000, 250,000. Very bad with money, very bad. But she thought she was doing the right thing. In less than a year, 250,000, he had 96 cents in his savings account. 96 cents. He spent all the money in a year. And so I don't think that was her intent. I think her intent was that he have something and he have something that he could live off of and invest in all those generational wealth, right? And so with wills, downside, they don't control property. They don't provide a lot of protection or direction. And that's what you want, direction, right? And so during your lifetime and in the lives of your spouse and your children, there's no direction. This just happens, just kind of says what you're entitled to, basically. Next. So then you end up in probate court. This is my little funny thing. And probate court is bad. Bad, bad, bad. You don't want to end up, especially in New York, you do not want to be in probate court. Next. Right? It's expensive. It takes a long time. And everybody knows your business. Next. Everybody. So it's very expensive. So 2 to 7% of the estate assets are lost. They're lost in probate. That means whatever your assets are. I know there are many people that own brownstones because I represent a lot of people, and they own in New York, and they own brownstones, and brownstones are worth at least $2 million, right? At least. And so, if you don't have it properly in the right place, then 2% of assets and I'm going low. I'm being conservative. Next, I'll give you an example. So this young lady had 800,000 in real estate. She had 50 in her account, brokerage account 200, life insurance 2 mil, and payable to her minor child. See where it says minor? 1.7. So she had altogether 4.7 million. And believe me, I know you might say I don't have all of that money, but if you own a brownstone in New York, it's probably worth about 2 million, right? And you may have a savings account. You may not have as much as this person has, but you have some assets. Next. And so if just 1%, because remember I said if you don't have it planned out, you have to go to probate court. So if you go to probate court, 1% of 4 million is what? 47,000. Next. $47,500 that goes to the probate court. And then it takes a long time. And we can reduce that number. Do you want even 4,000 going to the probate court? Do you want 2,000 going to the probate court? Right? That's lost money that can be a part of your generational wealth and what you're trying to build. Next. Thrown out the window. Next. Money just burnt, thrown out the window. So like I said, there are a lot of downsides of probate. One of them is everybody knows your business. I could right now, if I have your name and there was a death, I can go online to New York, surrogate, put the name in, pull up your whatever you did, whatever the paperwork says, and find out all your business. And I don't think you want that. And then it's complex, right? You really need an attorney. It's a long process. It takes a long time. So on the average, it could be 6 months to a year At least 6, at least. And before you're able to, take the benefit of the estate. Next. And so, if you only have about 75, you don't own any property, there might be a little fighting, then you may want a will-based plan. And it's okay. It's all right. You can have a will-based plan. So there are some people, but you need something. You need something. It has to be in writing. If it's not in writing, doesn't matter. That's what I said. Next. So a better option is the revocable living trust. And let's talk about it. Next. And so a revocable living trust is like a substitute for a will, right? You get to do so many wonderful things like name beneficiaries for your assets. You can change your mind. You can amend it during your lifetime. You have total control, right? Everything you own now is outside of your trust, but you're able to move it all into the trust. And it's called retitling of it. You can do that. You maintain the control of your trust. And the most important part, very important, you don't have to go to New York probate. It bypasses probate. It's a private document between you and whomever you left your assets to. Next, whoever the successor trustee is. Next. So here's my other question. How many people think a trust is for rich people or anything? It's just for rich people. And let me give you some names while we're looking at that question of people who left here rich and did not have a will or a trust. Aretha Franklin, Prince, who I love Prince, James Brown. Those are just 3. Did not have a thing in writing. And guess what? Families still in court fighting over their assets. Fighting over their assets because they didn't write anything down. But it's not only for rich people. You heard that my other title is minister, pastor. So I unfortunately, I have to bury a lot of people, but I also have to sit with families after someone has gone on and talk about, repairing and all of that. And you would not believe, just like that little skit I showed, you would not believe the people who will come into my office and literally, person is still in the morgue or they still at the funeral home. The funeral hadn't even taken place. And they want to know if they can have the car. They want to know if they can have the ring. They want to know if they can have, what can they have? Because there was no will, right? So they don't have a lot of money, a car, a coat. That's not a huge asset, but the person who's no longer here didn't just say who they wanted it to go to. So you got 3 or 4 brothers and sisters and they start fighting. Yeah, it happened. It happens. Next. So what's the trust? So like I said to you, it spells out everything that you want done with your assets, right? And you tell all the people how you want it done. That's the beauty of it. Next. So, example, here's Bob, right? Bob has one asset, $100,000 in the bank. And then he says, he wants to leave Fred, his little baby boy, his son, some money when he's not here, right? And you should plan for your children. It's not fair to them if you don't plan for them. It's not fair to them. But so he doesn't want the baby to get the money, though, until he's 25. And he doesn't want him to get the money until he's graduated. You can't put that in a will, but you can put it in a trust. Next. So it had 3 roles, and you can go to the next one because it basically says the same thing. Next. So here's the 3 roles, right? We have this lovely couple, right? And they hold all 3 positions. So they are the grantors of their trust. Right? They came to me, they wanted a trust. So they said what they wanted in their trust. They're the grantors, so they decide what they want. They are the trustees. They control it. Nobody else, just them. They're still alive. Remember what I said? This is about life, not about death. This is about planning. They still control it. And they also are the beneficiaries. So while they're alive, they hold all three positions and nobody can come, take their stuff from them, do anything they want. They're in control of their trust. Next. Right? And so, yeah. And they can amend it or they can revoke it. That's another thing I want to say. It's not a final document. There's no finality to a revocable living trust. They can revoke. That's the word, revocable. Next, cute couple. So the magic word is how you hold the title to your assets. How do you hold it? Next. So here it is. If you have a revocable trust, right, it's like a backpack. I love this little picture. It's like a little backpack. Kids, you know how you put everything in the backpack, right? Kids on their first day of school, everything's in the backpack, right? So with a revocable living trust, you have your attorney say all the things you want, your car, your jewelry, your pictures, your house, right, your coats, whatever you want in your trust, it goes in your backpack. Go on. But if you don't put anything in the backpack, next, and so everything in the backpack, excuse me, it avoids the probate. Like I told you, everything's in there: the coat, the car, the house, the life insurance policy, all the things right in the backpack. And that's a good thing. Next. If you don't have anything in it, I love this picture too. It's bad. It's bad. It's empty. Nothing in there. You got the trust, but you didn't put anything in there. Everything is still outside the trust. So it's not protected. Next. And so we really want to protect our stuff. So what? It's good, right? It's good to put when your trust is prepared to make sure that you title your documents, they're retitled so that they can go into your trust. And you need an attorney to do it. I mean, I'm saying some words that you probably, may not be familiar with, but it's okay. And that's why you use an attorney to help you gather all of these very important documents for your life. Next. So putting it in that backpack is funding your trust. So example, right? Jane Smith, right? She had an account or she had a house, right? She changed the title of the account to Jane Smith Living Trust because she's still alive. What did I say? This is not about death. This is about planning. She's still alive, right? So she put everything into her trust. And now all her assets are protected. Next. So trust solves all the problems that the will can't. And we just talked about it. The will's going to be probated and you'll lose 2 to 7% of your estate in probate, right? Assets can go to people that you don't want assets to go to in probate, but also in probate, you right? It could take years, but if you have a trust, it takes weeks. Doesn't take that long. And also with a trust, it's totally private during your at your death. Nobody has to know what's in it. And I've got situations where there are people fighting right now. I said to you that it protects you in divorce, it protects you in creditors. I have various situations. One with a divorce, somebody had a title, has a trust. The ex-spouse wants part of trust. The reason you have trust is to protect from divorce and from creditors. That is why you have it. If you just had a will, then the person can come and try to take half the stuff that didn't belong to them in the first place, right? Next. And so we talked about a lot of things, people. And the reality is, even though you don't want to talk about not being here, stuff happens, especially in this world. Listen, and I don't even want to bring it up, but I will. People went to New Orleans to have a good time, to enjoy themselves. And they were young, a lot of them. They weren't older people. And 10 of them didn't return home. I prayed that they had their business in order so that their family, there's not too much strife because the family's grieving, right? Family's grieving. But we just don't know from day to day. We don't know what's going to happen. So it's always good to try to be prepared. And so you worry about your kids getting divorced and the assets, like I said, going to strangers, right? Or losing an inheritance to creditors and lawsuits. Next. So here you have your child. Is he ready? Right? Is he ready for a huge lump sum of money? Now, the lump sum of money can come from your life insurance policy. It might be $25,000. It might be $10,000. It's still a lump sum of money. Are they ready? Are they ready? Okay, we're almost done. Next, let's move along. Move along. So we can even pass this because this is basically the same thing about people being lazy and, married and people the husband not taking care of business. And then you're married and you don't have a trust and he gets half your stuff. Next. And then we'll go next. And then we'll go next. Yeah. And so with a trust, it's a little bit at a time. Just a little bit. You take out. You can do that. You can control it. Next. And we'll go by that because that has to do with taxes, which I usually refer that to somebody. And so basically that pretty much next. So I just want to touch this a little real quick. Irrevocable trust, because I've been asked that question. That's a legal arrangement that can't be changed. And so I suggest that you talk to an attorney about what that really means. Next. And next. Okay. And guess what? We are done. Next. So if you want to talk about it a little more, I'm available. You can talk to me next about what you want to do. If you need a plan, if you want a plan, if you don't know if you need a plan, next. I want to get to the and next. Next. Just don't make excuses, right? You're not too young. You're not. So if you book, you get a discount for the session. Next. So here's the QR code. If you want to book, you can just scan that and you're able to make an appointment for a peace of mind planning session and you get a discount. Next. And thank you. Next. And here's your ebook. This is your gift. Here's a QR code. You can hit on that and download the book. And now we're going to end with my slide, my little 2 seconds. Go on. We'll end with our last video that we don't want to happen to you.
Dad left you this, and he left me the Mercedes.
See? That's what happened when you don't have a will. I may get the Mercedes, and you may get a little glass. Thank you.
I love the videos. They have me cracking up over here. Oh my gosh. I did want to say, so I did try to get the book and it says that it's not available at the moment. So
I got to talk to her about that. All right.
We'll have to, so if you do have it, keep the link and I guess you'll have to.
I have to get somebody to fix that.
But I did have a couple of questions. So you talked about the trust. So one of the things that I've seen happen, like you watch movies and people are like, they're the reading of the trust or the reading of the will or whatever. It's like parameters around the assets. And you kind of touched on that, but like what, I guess twofold, right? Because I'm that petty Betty type person. I'm like, you have to complete college in order to get, 25% of your money. And then
you can say that.
Yes. So have you seen that kind of backfire? So like what happens to the money if they say they don't go to college? So if you put in the trust or the will that you want them to go to complete, like to go to college or trade school in order to receive X amount of funds, but they don't, like what happens to the money?
Well, I mean, so then you may say in your trust, if they don't go to college, if they don't get a will, you get to determine that. You might say, well, then you don't get it until you're 40, or you may not get, you know what I mean? You can still say, I mean, it may not just be a total bar that I'm never going to give you the money. Because of course, it might just be later on when you're older and more mature. right? I'm going to give it to you. That's hopefully that'll happen. Or you can have it go to somebody else. It doesn't have to go to that person. It could be your successor trustee, because you're no longer here. There's going to be somebody behind you.
Mm-hmm.
They will distribute it according to your wishes, how you want it to go, and you will have prepared in your document to say, well, if they don't do this, then this money is going to go to somebody. Their kids, or it's going to go somewhere else. That's a personal.
I like that one. So if you don't go to college, then it's going to go to the grandkids once they complete college. So
you can say, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to go to them. I mean, that's the beauty of having a trust, that you really can say, this is what I want to happen, and this is how I want it to happen, and this is when I want it to happen.
Got it.
Say that.
You
can petition the trust. Excuse me, I'm sorry. They can petition the trust, say somebody that's a beneficiary.
Okay.
They can petition the trust for education, for a house, for whatever, if you left them a certain amount of money. You heard that story I just shared about the young man, $250,000. It was gone in a year, 96 cents left. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I definitely would probably put something in place, like they have to take some classes, learn how to manage money.
Right.
Other question is about, so how much does this typically cost to create like a trust? Is there a range, and is there a suggestion on how frequent someone should redo their trust or update their trust?
Okay. So, of course, it depends on everybody's situation. Some people have a lot of assets, so and it's a lot much more work. So they basically, I don't do just trust. I do trust packages, right? And they're flat fees. I don't surprise people. This is what it's going to cost, but you're not just getting a trust. It would be the power of attorney. It would be the living will. It would be a pour-over will. It would be, I'm giving you like 6 or 7 documents in a 50-page trust, right? And so for that, because it's not just a trust, my fees are $4,500, right? But it's not just a trust. A will, if you want a basic will, it might be $1,500 for a basic will. But it depends on the circumstances.
And how often should someone redo those documents?
I always say people should look at, if there's a major life change, then you may want to go in a year, right? And we always kind of follow up. It's been a year. Is there any major life changes? But every 5 years, you're the only one that's going to know whether you had a major life change. You may have had another child that you didn't include. You know what I mean? Your husband may have passed. You may have had somebody may have become incapacitated. Things may have happened. So yeah.
And so is that $4,500 for every time, or is that $4,500
no.
of the, so like if I do it with you the first time, does that mean every 4 or 5 years I can just say, hey, can you update my will?
Yes. And then there'll be a much lower price. Yeah, to update. Oh, yeah. And so what I'd like to say to people, especially our people, because they look at numbers and they look at money and they're like, I can't afford that. But you cannot afford not to, because when I tell you the money that is spent on fighting people with restraining orders, people not talking, you end up spending that money fighting over stuff that wasn't yours in the first place. So it really is an investment. It's an investment, and it's something to help you preserve for the future. And that's how I don't really have, when people are ready, they're ready. I don't have an issue. People don't give me an issue about that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Leslie. This was amazing. I mean, I'm sitting here. I wrote a bunch of notes and definitely and I hope you all did as well. I know a couple of people, but thanks for the insightful session. We had a couple of people jumping in and out throughout the time, so I'm sure people will come back and watch the replay later. And I hope take notes, and we do respond to the questions. So if you do have a question that you were not able to ask during the live session, feel free to drop it in chat, and we'll send that over to Leslie to respond, and we'll put that on the.
Appreciate it.
So
This is well, let me say this. I'm sorry, because about this book just bothered me. If they go to my website, leslylaw.com, LESLY law.com, they can download the book there. I know it's downloaded there because I always get a notice when they downloaded the book. I get an email, so I know it's downloading there. I don't know what happened on this slide, and I apologize for that.
No problem. Well, thank you again.
Thank you. So I have to stay involved here. I can't wait until Juneteenth. And I do want to say this before I leave. I know we got to go. Sure. It means so much to me because my mother, who passed in March, she was a major drum major for Juneteenth. In California, she was the Grand Marshal. She led it every year. She organized Juneteenth. It was such a big thing for her. And so when I met you, I was like, Mommy, you still, we're gonna carry it on. So thank you so much for what you are doing for and bringing such awareness to something that's so important for each one of us in our history and our legacy. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you, and thank you for sharing that story. It's great to always hear people talking about it being celebrated in different places, because a lot of people are like, this is new. I never heard of this. And, all of a sudden it's like, it's widespread. It's like, no, it's been happening. It's just you have been oblivious to it. That's so I'm glad that making it a national holiday helped to open people's eyes and to have more conversations around it. And I thank you to your mom. And what's your mom's name?
Mom's Lillian.
Lillian, thank you to Lillian for her passage and her contributions to it as well.
Thank you.
So I am going to see you backstage in a little while I close this out. So thank you again, everyone. I hope you got something really good from that. As I shared, I did. It's like I said, it's January. We have so many things that are happening, and we're looking forward to putting some stuff together around this whole idea of trust and wills as well. So as we are leading this month of unity, we are going to be doing every month focusing on one of the principles of Kwanzaa, and for the month of January is focused on unity. So in talking about unity, we do have our Black Kings nominations that are happening right now. They end on the 15th, which is next week. So if you know of an amazing African-American male who has been doing some great things in the community, based on any of the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, you can go to our website, which is juneteenthny.com, and nominate somebody. You don't have to know a lot of information. We just want to know why you think they are special. A lot of the people who are a part of this have been C-suite individuals. They've been elected officials. They have been just great dads, people who are mentors in the community. So any gamut that you think would be someone that you would like to highlight, we implore you to nominate them. Next up, we also have we're doing applications for our virtual summit. So if you are a speaker and you have, we have a number of different topics. If you go to our Instagram page, Juneteenth NY, we just posted all of the information about that. The deadline for that, I think, is the following week. I think it's like the 19th or something like that. So please go to the website for that. We're in application season right now for everything. And then lastly, we will be posting some information shortly about our fashion show. So if you are a fashion model, a designer, or a glam team individual, the application deadline is January 25th for the fashion designers, February 22nd for fashion models, and the glam team, that's makeup, hair, any of those things in between. That's March 29th. That's right after my birthday, y'all. So again, go to the website, juneteenthny.com for that. I think that's all, y'all. I am overwhelmed with just gratitude for where we are right now. And I know that it's only going to go up from here. So I appreciate you. We love you, and have a blessed rest of your week. Bye, y'all.